obviously you had a lot of success at Kamehameha schools. And leading into your senior year, what was that recruiting process like briefly? I'm sure that you were on the radar of
Mhm.
many big time schools, and you can explain how you chose SC briefly and what that process was like for you.
Yeah. Gosh. Well, it's funny you mentioned kind of having success at Kamehameha. It's through volleyball. We took some big old lickings from Punahou for my entire career until my senior year, when these kind of once in a generation, if not many generations, dream squad graduated, thankfully. So hilariously, there was tempered success through my volleyball career over there at Kamehameha. But going into my senior season, I had already committed to USC. And so my junior season was kind of the deciding year, right? And so I obviously had some decent exposure with being on the youth national team and being a starter for them at a young age. And so that boded well for me. Our club team was also successful. And so we had a lot of eyes on us at what was JOs and now is nationals. I was very fortunate to have that opportunity and to kind of make the most of it. I think I'm a firm believer in everybody's going to get some type of opportunity. Maybe it's only one time. Maybe it's for a very little short amount of time, and maybe it's one day, but you gotta be ready. You better be ready for it. Because if you're not ready for it, it'll pass you up.
Mhm.
And so if you're ready for it, it's gonna skyrocket you more often than not. And so I was very fortunate to have that opportunity, and we'll get into that even later with the national team. I think that's more evident when it comes to the national team story. But then the recruiting process started. I had a call from Penn State, Mark Pavlik, and he goes, we'd love to have you. And I was like, Coach, I appreciate it. It's too far away from home, and it's too cold, and this and that. And I'm like, and he was like, okay, respectfully, I get it. And so that for me was just a little bit too far. Obviously, Hawaii has a special place in my heart. But I had a conversation with my father too, deciding about colleges, and even getting, maybe even before colleges started coming and calling, was, Micah, you basically have to get a full ride, or you're going to KCC, because it's not as easy, or obviously you go through the student loan route. And so that made my decision a lot easier when teams said, okay, we can give you 50%, or we can give you 80%. And respectfully, I'm trying, I'm looking for this. I'm looking for a full ride. And if it's not available, thank you so much for your interest, but I'm going to keep kind of testing the market type of deal, right? Business talk a little bit. So it turned out to be kind of the Penn State, SC, or Santa Barbara.
Got it.
And those were kind of the three full ride opportunities that I had. And Penn State ended up being a little too far away.
Mhm.
And SC to me stood out so much because of the incredible power that a degree from SC has.
Mhm.
Not to mention, the incredible athletic program, what was a very strong volleyball team at the time as well. And so it was kind of the full package for me that really sold me. It was one of the things that I had discussed with my parents when I was deciding what college to go to. It was, Micah, if you have a career-ending knee injury your first day of practice, what degree is going to set you up for the best future that you can get? And for me, that was an easy decision, and SC was that decision. And I'm super happy to have that perspective and have that guidance, because all too often, unfortunately, that happens, and that can happen. And maybe I don't have any injury, or any type of injury for that matter, but I just fall out of love with volleyball.
Mhm.
And where does your degree take you? And so I'm super proud to have my degree from USC.
Mhm.
And it was one of the better decisions of my life, for sure.
There's so many great messages there for all of the athletes, right? Because that's so true. Like, yes, you're an athlete, but you're a student athlete. So you have to take care of the academics, the student side of it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but your major too, you're a bio major?
Human biology,
Human biology.
Not as
Got it.
science specific as biology, but yeah, human
But human
biology.
biology major too. And even that, thinking about the academic side, what is that going to provide? Not only if you should happen to end your career early, but even after that, right? So that's very good perspective for any of the younger athletes when they're thinking about what schools to choose, right? There's a lot more to it than just the sports side, I think. That's obviously the heavy weighted influences or factors, but you have to take into consideration everything else too. And you're going to spend wherever you end up, hopefully all 4 years, right? So that's interesting how you came to this decision. You being at SC, I'm sure that influenced a lot of other Hawaii kids. And we heard Tui's story about his recruiting journey talking to you and Kupono. But, it was great to see all of these Hawaii athletes at the time doing big things in the collegiate Division I level, right?